1979. In the history of modern Iraq, no year carries more weight, more fear, or more blood than this one. While the world watched revolutions unfold in Iran and global tensions escalate between superpowers, Iraq underwent a transformation far more silent and far more lethal. There were no tanks in the streets of Baghdad, no crowds storming palaces, no declaration of war. Instead, power changed hands behind closed doors through calculated loyalty tests, psychological terror, and a single meeting that would redefine dictatorship in the modern Middle East. This was the year Saddam Hussein stopped being the man behind the curtain and became the state itself. By 1979, Saddam Hussein had already spent more than a decade perfecting the art of power without visibility. Officially, Iraq was ruled by President Ahmed Hassan Barker, a fellow Baath Party veteran and longtime ally from Tikrit. In reality, Saddam controlled the intelligence services, the security apparatus, the party machinery, and the levers of fear that governed everyday life. He had built a parallel state within the state, one that answered not to ideology or law, but to his personal authority. Saddam understood something fundamental about power that many revolutionaries do not. Power is not seized only once. It must be constantly purified. It must be narrowed, centralized, and stripped of rivals until it rests in a single pair of hands. By the late 1970s, he had already neutralized the military, infiltrated every major institution with loyalists from his hometown and extended family, and transformed Iraq's intelligence agencies into instruments of personal surveillance. Yet one obstacle remained: the Baath Party itself. The Baath Party was supposed to be a collective revolutionary movement, bound by ideology and shared struggle. But to Saddam, collective leadership was a threat. The party's old guard, men who remembered earlier coups, failed plots, and ideological debates, represented something dangerous: memory. And dictators do not tolerate memory, because memory allows comparison, and comparison breeds dissent. The solution Saddam chose was both elegant and monstrous. On July 16, 1979, Ahmed Hassan Barker resigned from the presidency, citing health reasons. The announcement was calm, procedural, almost boring. Saddam Hussein was sworn in as president, Secretary General of the Baath Party, and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. There were no protests, no resistance, no visible opposition. International observers described the transition as smooth, even bloodless, but the blood was merely delayed. Less than 2 weeks later, Saddam summoned the entire senior leadership of the Baath Party to a conference at Baghdad's Air-cooled hall. The meeting was filmed from beginning to end. Cameras rolled not to document history, but to weaponize it. This was not a gathering of equals. It was a trial disguised as a celebration. As party members settled into their seats, Saddam took the stage. He appeared calm, controlled, almost paternal. He spoke of unity, betrayal, and foreign conspiracies. Then, abruptly, the tone shifted. A man named Muhi Abdul Hussein was brought forward. Shaking, visibly broken, he read a prepared confession. He claimed there was a vast plot within the party to overthrow Saddam, orchestrated with Syrian support. One by one, he named names. With each name spoken, security officers entered the hall. The accused were pulled from their seats, dragged away as colleagues watched in frozen silence. Some wept, some protested, most said nothing at all. Saddam remained seated, smoking, occasionally sipping water, observing the terror he had carefully engineered. This was not merely a purge, it was a performance. Saddam understood the psychological core of dictatorship. Fear is strongest when it is public, unpredictable, and participatory. The message was not just that dissent would be punished, but that survival required complicity. After the arrests, Saddam did something unprecedented. He ordered remaining party members to form firing squads and execute their accused colleagues themselves. The logic was ruthless and precise. By forcing officials to kill their own comrades, Saddam destroyed the possibility of collective resistance forever. Everyone present became both victim and perpetrator, bound to the regime by shared guilt. From that moment on, loyalty was no longer ideological, it was existential. This tactic appears again and again in the Dictator's Handbook. Stalin used it during the Great Purge. Mao institutionalized it during the Cultural Revolution. Saddam adapted it perfectly to Iraq's political culture, blending tribal loyalty, party discipline, and state terror into a single mechanism of control. By the end of 1979, dozens of senior Baath officials had been executed. Hundreds more were imprisoned, exiled, or disappeared. The party was no longer a political organization. It was a mirror reflecting Saddam's will. Iraq had become a one-man state. But Saddam's rise was not only about eliminating enemies, it was equally about constructing an image. Narcissism is not a side effect of dictatorship. It is a tool. In the months following the purge, Saddam flooded Iraq with symbols of himself. His portrait appeared in schools, offices, and homes. State media rewrote history, portraying him as the architect of Iraq's stability, the defender of Arab nationalism, the embodiment of strength. Every speech was crafted to reinforce a single narrative. Saddam Hussein was Iraq, and Iraq was Saddam Hussein. This fusion of personal identity with national destiny is another classic authoritarian tactic. When the leader becomes synonymous with the state, any opposition can be framed as treason, any criticism as sabotage, and any dissent as collaboration with foreign enemies. Saddam exploited this logic relentlessly, particularly as tensions with Iran escalated later that year. By late 1979, the Iranian Revolution had toppled the Shah and replaced him with a radical theocratic regime. Saddam saw both danger and opportunity. He portrayed himself as the bulwark against chaos, the strongman who could protect Iraq from revolutionary contagion. Internally, this external threat justified further repression. Externally, it positioned him as a regional power broker. Fear, narcissism, and opportunism fused seamlessly. What made Saddam's ascent particularly chilling was its clinical precision. He did not rely on mass hysteria or spontaneous violence. Everything was planned, documented, and institutionalized. The Al-Qudhal purge was recorded not because Saddam feared exposure, but because he wanted posterity to see it. He wanted future officials to remember what happened in that room, to understand the cost of ambition. In this sense, 1979 was not simply the beginning of Saddam Hussein's rule. It was the moment Iraq crossed an invisible line, from authoritarianism into total personal dictatorship. From that point onward, every institution existed to serve one man's survival. The consequences would be catastrophic. Wars, sanctions, mass graves, and decades of trauma all trace their origins back to this year. But in 1979, none of that was yet visible. What the world saw was a new president, confident and composed. What Iraq experienced was the closing of the trap. Saddam Hussein had learned the oldest lesson of power. It is not enough to seize control. You must make others fear losing it more than you fear using violence to keep it. And in that single year, through silence, spectacle, and blood, Saddam Hussein ensured that no one in Iraq would ever forget who ruled them. 1979 was not the year Iraq chose Saddam Hussein. It was the year Saddam Hussein chose Iraq and made it impossible for the country to choose anyone else.